Hello, everyone, and welcome to the TYM Influencers podcast and YouTube show. The reason we're doing this Influencers podcast is because there are people across our TYM family that have a voice, that have a genius, that have something to say to speak into our culture, and we want to give room for that. So whether you're a student or a leader, there is something valuable in the middle of what we're doing. And I'm here today with Pastor Matt Bridges, who is the youth and kids pastor, among other things, at Legacy Church in Bartlett. So thanks for coming and joining us, Pastor Matt.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
You drove in 3.5 hours this morning just to do this podcast. So I want to start with a few real simple questions so everybody can get to know you a little bit. I was at your church a few weeks ago and we got into a conversation about Enneagram, and you pretty much didn't know anything about it at the time.
I'd seen people post about it on Facebook, and I was like, all right, whatever.
Well, some people think it's witchcraft, but that's a whole nother conversation for another day. So you have since dove into it a little bit.
Yes.
So what is your Enneagram?
I'm a 5-wing-6, which is the problem solver.
Okay, 5-wing 6. Mm-hmm. That 5 is like an investigator.
Right.
Yeah. And so what have you learned about yourself through the whole Enneagram process?
My goodness. I've learned I need to do my best at smiling when I talk to people.
Well, you're doing it now. You got a good little smile going.
There's 27 different personality types, and the one that I fell into, it shows that I tend to have this investigator type mindset where I want to find out how things work, why they work, and when it's broken, how to fix it. Yeah. Which is, good things to be able to do. There's like the negative side, because, it's personalities. Everything's a positive and a negative. Yeah. And the negative side of it is when you get with somebody who's more emotion driven or stuff like that, and it's your facts driven, you can come off as cold. Okay. So it's learning how to process things with people and do it in a way that is compassionate.
Well, I don't know if I'm probably more emotion driven. I'm a 3-wing 4. So I'm hoping that you will not be cold with me today. Now, your wife, Lauren, you said a 1, right?
Oh, she's a 1-2, which is, she's extremely caring. She's the nicest person I know, but she's also that Enneagram, basically. Everything has a set way of going.
Oh yeah.
And
I'm married to a 1.
Yeah. And it's fun because it's with a 5, it's if you don't care about something, then you have to put effort in doing it. Yeah. And let's say it's a laundry. If I don't care about laundry and I don't think about it, for her, there's a set way for everything. And so it'll get me in trouble because I won't care about the things she cares about, and it takes some effort.
That's an interesting lesson you learn when you start doing the Enneagram. As a married couple, Michelle is a 1, and you talk about doing the laundry or the dishes or cleaning or anything. Yep. Like there is one way to do it, and it's her way, and I'm completely incapable of doing that way. Yes. So she just basically says, "I'll do it."
Yep, and that's how she helps.
That's that, and so that kind of works. Well, I also know that you are a fan of things like Star Wars, Marvel. So quick question, which is your favorite, Star Wars, Marvel, or DC?
Oh my goodness.
I mean, I basically asked you to pick your favorite child.
That is a loaded question.
Let's pause. How old are your kids, by the way?
6 and 3.
6 and 3. Just throw that in there for all the parents watching.
Right now, I will lean more Star Wars for 2 reasons. Okay. Because one, I'm taking my wife through the Clone Wars series.
Oh my! And she's watching it with you.
We're on season 5.
That's incredible.
It is, and I get upset because she'll watch 1 or 2 episodes, and I'm like, we can finish the whole series tonight. And then in a few weeks, we're doing Disney. Yeah. And she's booking Hollywood studios, talking about lightsaber builds and all that stuff. And so I'm on the Star Wars kick right now.
I mean, you played that right.
Yeah, I'm all about it right now.
Star Wars is your thing right now.
Yeah, which that doesn't discard the other two. I'm all about.
When I first met you, I remember Marvel. I believe Marvel was the thing that you were really into.
And that was back when Avengers were at the height of everything. And
okay, so here's some again choosing your children questions. What is your favorite Star Wars movie?
Oh, my goodness, I don't even know. I don't know if I can answer that question. I have
Well, which is your least favorite?
least favorite episode 1, Phantom Menace.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah,
I can feel that. So, who's your favorite Star Wars character? Like, I'm just going to hit you with just rapid fire.
My good Maul.
Maul. Yet, the Phantom Menace is your least favorite movie. That is absolutely nonsensical.
I mean, they took him out of the movie way too quick. He's in this. I mean, movie character. Yeah. I don't know.
But he's your favorite Star Wars figure.
He's all through
because he's in the Clone
series.
Wars. He's in Rebels.
Yeah.
So you like all the animated series and all that.
Yeah.
Okay, so who's your favorite Marvel character?
Let's go Captain America.
Captain America.
Yeah, my wife's a big Iron Man fan, so it's like.
See, I'm not as big a fan of Iron Man, honestly, because you try to watch these movies with your 11-year-old son. Iron Man, he's too inappropriate.
Right. Yeah.
Just bottom line.
A little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Captain America's more.
When I'm saying friendly. Like, hey, bud, you know, like that wasn't good, right?
That's
he's
not
like,
okay.
yeah, I know that.
It's like we're gonna turn this one off.
Right. So Captain America is probably my favorite too. We're just now going through the whole Marvel universe, and we've kind of hit pause because we've gotten to some of the movies that are probably a little more mature, you know.
Yeah.
So I don't know when we will resume.
Give it some time.
So what's your favorite Marvel movie?
Probably Infinity War.
Okay.
I'm a proponent for the bad guy. Like I tend to lean towards seeing controversy and conflict.
Yeah.
And I like Thanos.
You like him?
I like him. Like he just brings this energy.
He's a baller.
Brutal energy, and no one can touch him on their own.
Oh, he's like the Godfather. Like he is a straight baller.
And so I love the way he just walks through people through that whole movie.
Oh yeah,
and so,
I get that. He is an impressive villain, if you will.
Yeah, he has.
And then he has this weird dynamic where, for the good of all, I'm gonna like snap my finger.
Yeah, which is ridiculous.
And so you can justify anything.
Yeah.
So
you absolutely can.
We probably could deep dive into Marvel and Star Wars.
We could be here all day,
and people would like enjoy that more than anything else.
Probably.
I mean, my favorite Star Wars character is Luke Skywalker.
Okay.
I'm just straight classic.
Yep.
He is quintessential Star Wars to me.
Mm-hmm.
He is the ultimate icon of the Star Wars galaxy. But like you, I didn't like Phantom Menace.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I say I didn't like. I like everything Star Wars. Like you're not going to see me like on Twitter roasting on anything Star Wars. If it's Star Wars, I'm here for it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that's probably one of my least favorite. My favorite is Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
Although honestly, Empire Strikes Back is probably a better movie, but Return of the Jedi, I have such nostalgia with it as a kid. So anyway, you said you're going through the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
Is there a Maul? I guess is your favorite Clone Wars character because you like the bad guys.
I mean, right now he definitely is because we're in the like spoilers. We're in the season where he comes back.
Okay.
And we're right in the middle of the whole him trying to hunt down Kenobi stuff, and I'm feeling it right now.
So DC, who's your favorite hero?
Batman.
Or Batman.
I mean that when you talk about nostalgia, I grew up on Batman.
Yeah.
Like I grew up on Batman and Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
And so I got into Marvel late. I got into Star Wars late. As a child, it was Batman and Ninja Turtles. And so
Batman is my favorite, I guess, in that arena too.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not as much into that arena, but in part because he is without superpower.
Right.
He's just a guy that like can do a lot of cool stuff.
Right. You take all of his stuff away.
He's
still a ninja.
Kind of like being a staff pastor.
Kind of.
And we'll talk about that in a few minutes. But I do have a few more questions because before you came, I sent you a little bit of a questionnaire.
Yeah.
And there was one thing on the questionnaire that was befuddling to me. Okay. So I asked you your favorite food.
Yes.
And what is your favorite food?
Pizza.
Okay. And then I can't remember if I said, is there any food you hate or your least favorite food? And what is it?
Food you hate, spaghetti.
So that makes no sense. So, you got two things in the same genre that are like borderline the same
virtually
thing.
The same thing, yeah.
And so how does that work?
Well, I can't eat spaghetti without bread.
Okay.
And so,
so is it a texture thing?
No, it's a childhood thing. I grew up like we're going deep into the past.
Let's go. Let's just get into your psyche.
I grew up, kind of poor. And Mom, if you're watching, I'm sorry. She would make spaghetti 2 to 3 times a week.
Yes.
And she would water down the sauce.
Oh my gosh.
To make the sauce last.
Bless.
Through all of it. And so I'm having this terrible spaghetti.
Yes.
2 to 3 times a week for my entire childhood.
Oh
to the
my
point
gosh.
where this day I still hate spaghetti. It's like,
so like, would she do like the ragu jar or
like
and
take
then,
the jar and then like
put the water
pour
in
it, water it down. I mean, it was
my Lord.
It was bad.
Mom, what did you do?
It was bad. Like,
she was trying to make ends meet.
She was making, and she was doing her best. And,
Shout out to all the parents out there who just were doing whatever they could to
Yep.
raise us kids, right?
Yep. That was, I mean, back in Drummond's, Tennessee, she was working at the hospital,
Yeah.
raising these boys who ate a ton. And man, that spaghetti was bad.
Bro, it sounds, admittedly, it sounds awful.
Yeah. So like, I mean, I'm all about pizza,
Yeah.
but I don't want to touch spaghetti. And then I went to Master's Commission where
Yeah.
it's like, 25 people and everybody wants to bless the students at the church. So it's like, hey, I'm going to make y'all dinner, and it's spaghetti every time.
Spaghetti all the time.
If you want to bless ministry students, like throw a few more dollars in and
Yeah.
get some chicken Alfredo or something.
My gosh. So I have a similar food item. I don't despise it probably the way you do spaghetti, but hamburger helper.
Yep.
Like every variant of hamburger helper came through our home as kids, and we ate a ton of hamburger meat with helper. So
that was the nights between the spaghetti.
Okay. That's called living the dream in Drummond's.
I mean, it's hamburger helper, spaghetti, and then fried spam. Like it's
my Lord. That's incredible. Yeah. So if you don't know where Drummond's is,
most people don't.
Most people don't. It's over in the Montford, Brighton, Atoka area.
Yeah, you hit Mumford and then just turn left and go towards the river, and you'll run into Drummond.
And there it is.
You'll find a school.
Middle of nowhere.
Yep.
And that's where how many siblings?
I've got one brother that I grew up with, and I got another half brother out in California.
Okay. So that spaghetti made it work. Well, that makes perfect sense. I just couldn't figure out, like, because usually if somebody hates one, they hate the other.
Right.
Like my son hates red sauce.
Okay.
And so he doesn't do pizza. He doesn't do spaghetti. Like he tries it. He desperately wants to like those things, but he just can't. So I didn't know exactly what your reasoning was.
It's probably more of a mental thing than anything else.
Yeah. Well, I want to shift gears a little bit. I mentioned you're a staff pastor.
Yep.
You serve under a senior pastor and his leadership, Pastor Johnny Bird, in again Legacy Church Bartlett, and you are the youth pastor, the kids pastor, media. What all do you do? Just go ahead and make the list.
I do youth, kids, media and tech.
Does media and tech, is that like one thing or two?
Yes.
I'm going to give you 4. I'm going to give you a combo.
I help with sound. We now have some amazing people who run sound, so I've stayed away from it as much as possible. Okay. But I help when I have to. Media, I've taken care of all the stuff for the streaming. My wife is in charge of worship.
Right, she is.
And then this isn't necessarily in the church, but I'm also the character coach for the Bartlett basketball team. So that's doing ministry through the week. Yeah. And then, anything else that pops up.
Right. And you help us in TYM with a lot of our KidMin stuff.
Yep.
You were Peterson this summer. That gets like that gets like 10, like you're up there.
My goodness, Peterson. For those of you who don't know, because you're in youth and not in kids, you missed it.
Yes, you did. Peterson was one of my all-time favorite camp characters ever. You sold it.
It was fun.
He was a football player that could not catch the ball.
Right.
And he was borderline a lunatic.
I think I tore my vocal cords doing that.
You screamed a lot. So you have a lot of responsibilities.
I do.
And my guess is anybody who's a staff pastor that's watching or part-time, full-time, volunteer, whatever, if you're considered a part of the church staff, you tend to fit into the same category as Matt here. Yep. You are doing a lot of different things. Your portfolio, so to speak, is pretty diverse. And so what are some of the challenges in managing so many areas? And I want you to say it because I think those that are watching will be nodding their head, just to feel a little bit of synergy with those watching because to relate.
Some of the biggest challenges are simply balancing the time.
Yeah.
When you do so many areas, you have to be very precise on how you do it. For me, I have to schedule days based around certain areas.
Mhm.
I have a day based around kids because I'm not a multitasker.
Yeah.
And so if I start thinking about kids on my youth day, come youth service, I'm not ready. Like
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
I gotta have days
So you
based
gotta
around.
really compartmentalize. Okay.
Yeah, compartmentalize. I have everything set up to basically flow through it. You got to be flexible because you work at a church.
Yeah.
It might be your youth day, and someone calls and says, "Hey, come, I need you to help us move,"
Yeah.
or "Hey, this person's in the hospital sick." Whatever it is, you got to be
There's another
flexible.
hat.
With it. Yep. And so some of the biggest issues you run into is, I mean, time management.
Yeah.
You got to make sure you're focused. Got to make sure you're doing it right. It's if you don't, you won't be ready when time
Yeah.
comes to have service. But it's more than just service.
Right.
It's reaching students where they are. So you gotta make sure your time is done wisely.
Are you a natural when it comes to time management, or is that a developed skill?
No,
Okay.
no, it's I have reminders on my phone that go
Okay.
off almost every 20 minutes through the day saying work on this.
So there's a
work on
pro
this."
tip for staff pastors doing multiple things. Use the reminders on your phone
Yep.
to keep you on task or to remind you
Yep.
of multiple tasks. Um, I'm much more of a fluid thinker.
Mhm.
Like now I can really dive in, and once I lock in on something, I can't think of anything else. But I find like there are always, by and large through the day, the 8 different things I've got to do are just floating in randomly. That stresses me.
Yeah.
I think, because I'm in a staff role too.
Mhm.
I think the thing that stresses me the most is having so many different things
Yep.
kind of moving, and none of them are finalized. You just have to get a lot of balls moving,
Yep.
along the way, and then keep them going. And the old adage, spinning the plates.
Right.
So that kind of sometimes feels a little overwhelming.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Do you ever feel overwhelmed?
Yes.
Okay.
Like it's
So when you get a little overwhelmed, what is when you get overwhelmed or stressed, what comes out of you,
so
or
this
how do you respond? Like, what's your kind of behavior that follows that?
so this is something I have always done, but I understand better now that I've done the Enneagram studying.
Yeah.
Is when I stress out, the thing that does best for me is solitude.
Okay.
Getting away, like go into my office, spend time praying, spend time like take a few minutes and do nothing.
Yeah.
Like I'll play Sudoku on my phone.
Yeah.
Just to like clear my head, have a few moments, have a break. Because everybody gets stressed out and everybody's got to find their way of de-stressing. Some people are energized by other people.
Yeah.
My pastor is one of the people that the more people he has around, the more energized he
Right.
is. And then I'm the less people I have around. So he'll bring me in, and then I have to go get solitude just to de-stress.
Peace out, Pastor.
Like it's one of those things where you got to figure out your way of decompressing. And for me, it's taking time to separate and not be focused. Like
Yeah.
if I'm focused on preparing for things or getting things ready,
Yeah.
that's not re-energizing time. That's work. That's still stress. It's still energy. It's still effort. And so taking moments to, I mean, if you play video games, play video games. If you don't, read. I mean, whatever it is for
Whatever
you
your
to
thing
de-stress.
is.
Yep.
So I like drive down the road with the windows down and
Yep.
music blaring. Like that's my I don't know why, especially if it's like the fall or spring, that totally chills me out. You were talking, and it kind of caused me to think in this vein. We all only have so much passion.
Mhm.
I mean, and by that I mean there are some things that we are passionate about.
Yeah.
And then there are other things in our job description that we aren't as passionate about. So how do you navigate that to make sure that the things that don't make your heart beat as fast
Mhm.
still get the necessary attention?
Yep. So as a staff pastor with multiple hats, in doing kids and youth, you have to do the things that you like.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't know how great of a tip that is.
Okay.
If you are only limited, if you're limited on so many things you can do in your time, do the things that you like because you'll do those well.
Yeah.
If there are certain things that are a drag on you, when you do them in your ministry, when you do them on your Sundays for kids, youth, whenever you do, you won't do those things with the excellence, with the passion, with what you should do. So one of the things you have to do when you have so many roles is limit yourself.
Okay.
So
That's interesting.
So limit yourself on the things that you can do well, and limit yourself on the things you enjoy doing.
Yeah.
And so
probably within each arena, you can find those 2 or 3 things. And then I guess you've got to staff out or volunteer out with the rest of your people to kind of fill those gaps. So what do you, we've talked about challenges, and I think there are people in the room whose faces are twitching right now because they're thinking, oh God, this sounds familiar, but there's another side to it.
Yeah.
So what is enjoyable or fulfilling about having your hand in so many facets of the life of the church?
Right. I've always been, since I got saved, I've been doing everything I can to serve in ministry. It's one of the things that I'm passionate and love. And so I find joy in doing ministry and being able to, it's not about, I'm not called to youth. I'm not called to kids. I'm called to ministry.
Yeah.
I'm called to love people.
That's good.
And so it gives me the opportunity to love people in kids, in youth, with adults. One of the great things is being able to work with kids in kids ministry. And as they move up to youth, you're still there.
Yeah.
They're still your kids. You don't have them for 5 years and then send them off to youth and hope that they do well there. Or you get kids you don't know and got to start new relationships. You have them the whole time, and you're able to see them grow. You're able to make sure that they are, I don't know how to say this without sounding, I don't want it to sound cocky, making sure they're getting good content the entire time they're in student ministry. You want them to be growing, and you have the opportunity to be there to nurture that the whole way through. Like the way I see ministry, it's about sons and daughters.
Yeah.
And if they're with you for 10 years.
That's so good.
So there's so much benefit to being able to be there for both. There's so much hard stuff, but there's so much benefit in too. Like
you are very influential in the health of the whole church. And so to some degree, really to a high degree, you have to disassociate yourself from the temptation of building your own kingdom.
Absolutely.
Because you're doing so many things. It has to be about the health of the church. You can't just focus on this thing over here that gets me the most acclaim, because I'm here for the benefit of the whole. And I learned in early years of youth pastor, we're talking like 2001. So I'm old. I was the youth pastor technically at our church, but I was also the worship leader.
Okay.
And of course did outreach and taught the new members Sunday school class, a lot of typical deal.
Yeah.
And I found that being involved in so many different arenas like allowed me to gain credibility, loyalty from people. Being the worship leader on Sunday morning caused the adults in the congregation to not just see me as the youth kid. Like it created relational and emotional attachment, and spiritual attachment, so that some of them would come help me in a lot of ways, which is something that we have to be really guarded about as staff people, because you do have so many relationships across the church to make sure your heart stays pure. Yeah. And to make sure that your attitude's right toward your pastor, because you can, as a staff pastor, you could become devastating. But I just found that me being the worship leader was not a hindrance to me being the youth pastor. It actually helped me be more effective as the youth pastor, because I am relationally connected with more people in the church. Yeah. Instead of saying in this one little arena. Do you have any insight for staff pastors or volunteers that are watching who have a lengthy job description? If you got just 2 or 3 nuggets that you can throw at them.
The biggest thing that I would say to anyone who is in ministry at all, but especially to people who are wearing multiple hats, balance your home life.
That's good.
If your home life is not good, your ministry might look fruitful. Yeah. But you're still not fruitful. So you're still stressed.
So how long have you and Lauren been married?
It will be 10 years in February.
And so you've got 2 children. So when he's talking about a wife and 2 kids that he is making sure they're took care of. So balance. Go ahead. Sorry to cut you off.
We have it on our wall. The most important thing you'll do in life is inside those walls.
Yeah.
The things you do in your home, the things you do in life, it's significantly more important than you can do anywhere else.
Right.
And you got to make sure that your home life is balanced. If you're working all the time and never coming home, when you come home, probably not a pleasant environment. Your wife might be stressed. Like, and I get ministry has seasons where it does require more.
Yeah.
But that's why it's balanced through the year.
Right.
Make sure your home life is good.
Yes. Anything else? We're going to wrap it up.
Pray.
Right.
Pray. Like, I was listening to a podcast today where the guy was joking, talking about people will say you need to wake up at 6:30 to have a prayer time. And it's like, God knows me better than you. And he knows I like to wake up at 10. We'll pray at 6:45 p.m.
Okay.
It's have your relationship with God.
Okay.
And spend that time praying. Spend that time with him. Don't worry about trying to make it look right because of your role.
Yeah.
Make sure your relationship and your prayer life is good with God.
That's good. I love it. Final little nugget.
Okay.
You know, we probably will have a student or two that'll watch, some of whom feel a call to ministry in like 15 to 30 seconds. Give them the truth about ministry.
It's not about what you're called to do. It's about who you're called to be. I'm called to love people, and I'm called to share the gospel. I'm not called to be the youth pastor at Legacy Church, because if I was, my pastor could fire me from the calling of God.
Yeah.
I'm called to love people and share the gospel. And everywhere I go, my calling should be blessing that place.
Yeah.
And I should be growing in my calling.
That's awesome. I love it. So thank you for watching today, for joining Pastor Matt and I, as we talked a little bit about wearing a whole lot of hats in ministry, as well as Marvel and Star Wars and all that good stuff. I feel bad for you about the spaghetti. Anyway, find us on YouTube. Find us on podcast like iTunes, podcast hosting like iTunes, and join us for the next episode.